गुड। एक 43rd क्वेश्चन वो मैंने लिखवाया नहीं अभी तक। हाँ, इसका आंसर गलत दिया हुआ। Any other doubt? 40? Why density within the earth increases at the depth of 2900 kilometers? It is right. It is increases na at that. Why? At the depth, does it go on increasing? So it is not saying कि once you go into the outer core, the density goes on increasing. Actually, this statement was wrongly framed. So it should be density goes on increasing within the earth. At the earth, at the depth of नहीं चाहिए था. It is wrongly framed. P waves record the highest speed at the depth of 700 kilometers. गलत है ये. Answer is both 1 and 2. क्वेश्चन नंबर 43 में किसी को डाउट? The outer zone of the lithosphere is known as crust. क्या प्रॉब्लम है इसमें? outer zone of lithosphere is known as crust. Yes. Crust lithosphere will do it when doing the plate tectonics. Lithosphere is crust plus upper mantle. So crust is the upper part of a lithosphere. The Earth's crust consists of brittle rocks. Yes, that is why they break into the plates. The lithosphere is much thicker than the crust. Yes, because lithosphere consists of the mantle plus crust, and therefore it is much thicker than the crust. Below the crust lies the solid asthenosphere. ये wrong है, the solid asthenosphere. So the answer is 1, 2 and 3. I'll discuss 43 today. So we'll discuss all the questions then. Any problem in 31? No. Lake Michigan lies totally in USA. 32, Black Sea separates which of the following countries? Ukraine and Turkey. वैसे I had given this question separate अलग से. That is, I wanted to ask you, Turkey lies between which sea? That is, the Black Sea separates which country? अगर ऐसा भी आता है तो answer is Turkey. They have changed it Ukraine and Turkey. वैसे original question is Black Sea separates which country? So it is Turkey. Most of the world's coal belongs to the tertiary period. No, it belongs to which period? Carboniferous period. Peat is the first stage in the formation of the coal. Yes, peat is the first stage. Continental drift theory, Wegener. Sea floor spreading theory, Harry Hess. Convectional current theory, Arthur Holmes. So these are the three are right. Asteroids are formed between Mars and Jupiter. Which of the following statement is incorrect? 36 में. Meteors are termed as shooting stars. Yes, they are termed as shooting stars because they enter the Earth's atmosphere and they go in flames. Meteors become luminous, means वो जल जाते हैं when they enter the Earth's atmosphere. वहाँ पे in the bracket you write down when they enter the inner atmosphere. थोड़ा उसका explanation. When they enter the inner atmosphere, that is the mesosphere. So after that, all the meteoroids fall on the earth in the form of ash. Not necessarily. Meteoroids travel at great speed. Obviously, they will travel at great speed. Question number 37. The outermost layer of the earth is known as crust. The earth's crust is above the Moho discontinuity. Right? Both of them are true. Correct is, so the answer is C. Arrange the following in the sequential order from surface to the core. Asthenosphere, mantle, solid core, molten core. So सबसे पहले it is asthenosphere. Asthenosphere के नीचे it is a entirely mantle. Mantle के नीचे it is outer core, that is the molten core, and then we have the solid core. So इसका answer is C. The outer zone of the lithosphere, yes, it is known as crust. We'll see that in the plate tectonic theory, maybe in today's lecture itself. The Earth's crust consists of the brittle rocks, and the lithosphere is much thicker than the crust. ये अभी समझ में आएगा when we do the plate tectonic theory. Which of the following is correctly arranged in the descending order from geological time scale? So सबसे पहले it is descending order means सबसे बड़े to सबसे छोटा. So what it is? First is epo. Epo के बाद it is era, and era के बाद it is periods. So what is the answer given? Sorry. Era के बाद period, and period के बाद it is epo. So what is the answer here? C. What answer is given? B. Okay. So in the geological history of the earth, dinosaurs reached their largest size in Jurassic. So age of the dinosaurs is Jurassic. 14.2 का question, don't worry about this. So the density within the earth increases at the depth of 2,900 kilometers. So ये wrongly framed है. This should be, that is, the density goes on increasing with the increase in the depth, reaching its highest at 2,900 kilometers. अगर ऐसे frame होता, so don't worry about the question number 42. But tell me, statement 2 is right or wrong? So the statement 2 is wrong. Question number 43. ये generally पता नहीं होगा because we have not done this. Which of the following statement is correct? Why maximum thickness कितना है? कल ही तो लिखा 70 kilometers below the Himalayas. So it is correct. Mantle is partially solid and partially liquid. ये गलत है. Jelly liquid नहीं होता. It is in a solid. It is not a liquid. Gel is a different medium. यही मैंने कल बताया था. Gel, liquid, solid. Don't apply physics वाला laws here. वो science वाला concept नहीं है. Is it liquid or is it in a semi-molten stage? It is in the semi-molten stage. That's it. It is not liquid. So the entire Earth's crust is made up of sedimentary rocks. You do not know this. The Earth's core account for largest volume of the Earth. True or false? That is true. Remember, Earth's crust accounts for largest volume of the Earth. 84% of the Earth's volume is made up of the crust. ये मैंने लिखवाया नहीं है, of the core. So what of the following statement is correct here? Oh, sorry, I am sorry. The Earth's core account for the largest volume of the Earth. ये मैंने लिखवाया नहीं है. This is wrong. Why? Because mantle accounts for the largest volume of the Earth, 84%. The Earth's crust is made up of sedimentary rocks. Yeah. Wrong or right? Then अभी तो हमने देखा कि it is made up of sedimentary rocks. क्यों वो statement wrong है? Tell me. 43. Because वहाँ पे keyword है entirely. पूरा का पूरा Earth is not entirely, crust is not made up of sedimentary rock. Majorly it is a sedimentary rock, but not entirely it is a sedimentary rock. Maximum thickness ये right है. Mantle is partially solid and partially in a semi-molten state. Liquid नहीं है. अगर liquid होता तो S waves would not have passed. But S waves are passing through this mantle, and thus we know that the mantle is not in the liquid state. A ship going through the Suez Canal will pass through which state? State of Bab al-Mandab. What is the difference between asteroids and comets? What is the answer here? Asteroids are small rocky planetoids, while the comets are formed of frozen gases together with rocky and metallic matter. Right or wrong? Right है. याद रखना ये right है. Asteroids are found mostly between the orbits of Jupiter and Mars, while the comets are found between Venus and Mercury. Wrong. Comets go around the solar system. So they are not found in one particular belt. Comets show a tail while asteroids do not show a tail. Right. So यहाँ पे कुछ कुछ क्वेश्चंस ऐसे हैं फैक्चुअल विच यू शुड नो, मतलब जानबूझ के डाले हैं so that you can later on revise them, because सब कुछ क्लास में नहीं बता पाऊंगा. So some of the things which you should know are given in the form of question answer format. So the answer here is which of the following are correct is 1 and 3. Question number 46. Abyssinian plateau कहाँ पे है? नहीं पता. Atlas mountains कहाँ पे है? पता है. In अफ्रीका. कहाँ पे? नॉर्थ वेस्टर्न अफ्रीका. गुयाना हाईलैंड्स नहीं पता कहाँ पे है. ओकावांगो बेसिन नहीं पता कहाँ पे है. बट दिस इज एन 2013 का यूपीएससी का क्वेश्चन. सो यू डू नॉट नो अदर थिंग्स, बट यू श्योरली नो दैट विच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग इज करेक्टली मैच्ड, एंड हेंस द आंसर इज बी. दैट इज यूज द टेक्निक ऑफ निगेशन इन सच क्वेश्चंस. ये तो अभी फर्स्ट टेस्ट था तो काफ़ी इजी था ये. You will see many of such questions coming in from the second and third test onwards. Third test में थोड़ा we'll go to the UPSC का level, especially in the current affairs section कि हिंदू न्यूज़पेपर का कैसे लाइन उठाते हैं, and they will give you any of this. So अभी तो you will find this much easier. Which of the following phenomena might have influenced the evolution of organisms? Both. I've told you continental drift theory, how it has influenced. That is, you were once in the southern hemisphere. Then as the continents kept on moving northwards, climatic belt change हुआ कि नहीं? As the continent started moving northwards, when we were first under the influence of glaciation, जब वो northwards started moving, when we came to the higher climates, into the lower latitudes, higher temperature वाला climate, will the life be same? When you are near the Antarctic and as you come near the tropical region, life same होगी या species different होगा? Species will be different. So India में once the species which were found, they belong to the colder period. अब जो species मिलते हैं India में, they may belong to the hotter regions. So is it not evolution? So continental drift के कारण, can I say the climatic belts of the world have changed? And this, it has influenced the evolution of the species. You have got a large landmass. Say application सीखो. Continental drift, मैंने आपको example भी दिया था because I knew this was the question. Example दिया था आपको lions का. That is, India is one country in which the lions and tigers live in wild. Why? Because lions belong to the African realm and the tigers belong to the Asian realm. But India, which was a part of Gondwana land, due to the continental drift, उसमें lions भी हैं and tigers भी हैं. अगर India आके touch ही नहीं करता to Asia, would we have tigers? So tiger today is our national animal. Why? Because of the tigers are found in India because of the continental drift. Otherwise, tigers India में होते ही नहीं, there had been no continental drift. So this is how continental drift causes evolution. And glacial cycles, does it cause evolution of the organisms? Yes. Why glacial cycles? Ice age, cold period, end of a cold period, warm period. Again cold period and warm period. And one of the things that has caused the glacial cycles is nothing but the continental drift. As the continent started moving from one place to another, climate changed. So some parts of the world which were once colder regions like India, Brazil, experienced the glacials, experienced and hotter climates. And Kiruna, जहाँ पे coal मिला, which was once a hotter region, now it is experiencing a colder climate. So change, evolution हुआ कि नहीं? Are you getting this? Everyone? How the continental drift and the glacial cycle has caused evolution of the organisms. What do you mean by evolution? How the life changes to adapt itself to the surrounding environment. So that is an example of an evolution. So when the climate changes, obviously the evolution will change. When the pollution is occurring, obviously there is some kind of a microevolution that is happening in the world. Microevolution, if you are using too much of an pollutants, your body starts to adjust. When your body starts to adjust, sometimes this body may there is a sudden growth of cells and you call it as a cancer. Cancer is also, you can say, a sudden growth of cells because of a external impact. So remember, जो भी climatic change होगा, that has influenced the evolution of the organisms. Can I say volcanic अब मैं इसको थोड़ा चेंज करूंगा, क्या ना, इसे वॉल्केनिक लैंडफॉर्म्स और वॉल्केनोस, क्रेटेशियस वॉल्केनो हैज इन्फ्लुएंस द इवोल्यूशन ऑफ ऑर्गेनिजम्स, यस, एक्सटिंक्शन ऑफ डायनासोर्स। तो देखो, एज सून एज यू कम टू द यूपीएससी लेवल का क्वेश्चन यू स्टार्ट मेकिंग मिस्टेक्स। 40 क्वेश्चन नंबर 47 अगेन यूपीएससी लेवल का क्वेश्चन। एडेप्टेशन सोचो, यू लर्न द एप्लीकेशन। फैक्चुअल डेटा से क्वेश्चन सॉल्व नहीं होंगे सिर्फ, देयर विल बी सम क्वेश्चंस व्हिच विल बी फैक्चुअल, देयर विल बी सम क्वेश्चंस व्हिच यू विल हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड द सब्जेक्ट एंड अप्लाई इट। एप्लीकेशन किसी बुक से नहीं समझ में आएगा, एप्लीकेशन यू विल हैव टू रीड दैट टॉपिक अगेन एंड अगेन एंड देन थिंक ओवर इट। जब तक आप 5 से 6 बार नहीं किसी पार्ट को पढ़ोगे, तब तक you will not develop insights, and when the time you do not have insight over the topic, you cannot solve many of the question। 2017 का question factual भी था, but entire economy was based on developing the insights। Nobody taught you merchant bank rate, nobody taught you, and then we have Saurav Sablok who is taking the class in next lecture, in the next hall। He easily gets 115 marks even in this year's prelims। Why? Because he was in a confusion कि IFS मिला है तो IFS छोड़ के resign करके IAS देना है कि नहीं। So 7 days before he decides कि चलो इस साल मैं prelims दे देता हूँ, and then I will decide कि later on, and he gets 115 marks। And there are some of the people who cannot even cross 90, 95 even after 2-3 years of preparation। क्यों? बिकॉज टू मच ऑफ डेटा, ये भी करना है, इनसाइट सिक्योर भी करना है, विजन 365 भी करना है, और IAS बाबा के भी MCQs करने हैं, और ये भी करना है, और सिर्फ फैक्चुअल डेटा लेना है, उससे नहीं होगा। यू विल हैव टू रीड द स्टैंडर्ड बुक्स, you will have to go through the insights, you will have to go through the insights which you get from NCERTs, not from the website of an insight, which you will get from the NCERT। and insight तभी मिलेंगे जब एक चीज़ 3-3, 4-4 बार पढ़ोगे। उसमें से कुछ कुछ हैं जो मैम बताएगी बाद में। मैम तो मना करेगी पहले लक्ष्मीकांत पढ़ने के लिए, और फिर मैम ओवर द पीरियड ऑफ टाइम बताएगी लक्ष्मीकांत तो रटी होनी चाहिए। तो व्हाई इज दैट सो? इट इज दैट सो बिकॉज मैम इनिशियली विल आस्क यू टू स्टार्ट फ्रॉम द हाई लेवल सोर्सेस, एंड देन व्हेन यू डू द हाई लेवल सोर्सेस, फिर लक्ष्मीकांत आपको कुछ नहीं लगेगा। So that is the idea, that is starting from DD Basu or starting from Subhash Kashyap, and then doing the factual data from the Lakshmikant। So this is one area। अब Aralsi मैंने लिया नहीं था, so Aralsi is located between Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan। Aralsi is very very important। Why? Because it is a best example of how the interlinking of the rivers have failed, and interlinking of the rivers fails, therefore the Aralsi has shrunk over the period of time। I guess this year also there was a question on Aralsi। Then some of the applied question from map। कैसे map के question आते हैं? Mississippi River drains into Gulf of Mexico। That is, जब भी हम कोई भी river करेंगे, even if I do not do उसका origin and draining, you should at least do कि कहाँ पे वो जाके खत्म होती है, Mississippi River। North Sea कहाँ पे है? You should ask yourself at the other options, North Sea कहाँ पे है? Near Europe, above the Britain। Where is the state of Florida? We have done this। State of Florida is just near the Gulf of Mexico। State of Florida is USA and Cuba। And Gulf of California exactly opposite to the Gulf of Mexico। हम आगे जाके देखेंगे which river drains into it, because that river is famous for the Grand Canyon region, that is the river Colorado, drains into the Gulf of California। Now what are the following are the evidences of the continental drift? Again, this is an past year question, so jigsaw fit, yes. Biological evidence, yes. Glacial evidence, seismic waves, no. Biological evidence, Glossopetris flora, dinosaurs, बायोलॉजिक आर्कियोलॉजिकल एविडेंस मतलब क्या? अभी अगेन इफ यू डू सच थिंग्स तो फिर प्रीलिम्स में मुश्किल हो जाएगा, बिकॉज दैट आर्कियोलॉजिकल एविडेंस इज व्हेन यू कंसिडर इट इन द टर्म्स ऑफ आर्कियोलॉजी। ये तो मैं बायोलॉजिकल एविडेंस को कल अगर फॉसिल एविडेंस आया तो क्या करोगे? अगेन यू विल सर्च फॉर आर्कियोलॉजिकल एविडेंस। आर्कियोलॉजिकल एविडेंस इज बिल्डिंग्स एक्सेट्रा, बट आर्कियोलॉजी ऑफ व्हाट? we find fossils, etc. That is, we find a biological evidence. Even if you say biological evidence nahi hai, even if you say that is an archaeological evidence, वैसे वो archaeology नहीं है, that is fossils, distribution of fossils. Behavior of lemmings, that is an biological evidence. Lemmings are still living today. Lemuria, monkeys, that is an biological evidence. Distribution of some plants which are commonly found at the margins जहाँ जहाँ Gondwana land था, that is an example of an biological evidence. Glossopetris is an example. Then evolution of the animals, that is an biological evidence. Australia is the only continent जहाँ पे we do not have such large animals because Australia टूट के बहुत पहले drift हुआ. अगर ऑस्ट्रेलिया टच करता रहता टू द गोंडवाना लैंड, हैड इट टच टू द गोंडवाना लैंड टिल द लास्ट मोमेंट, तो फिर वर्ल्ड ओवर देयर वुड हैव बीन कैंगारूस. बट ऑस्ट्रेलिया separated from the main Gondwana land much earlier, and therefore kangaroos got isolated. As the kangaroos got isolated, luckily Australia में none of the larger animals from the center of a Gondwana land could cross. That is, neither jackals, neither lions, etc. could cross, and therefore kangaroos still survive in the mainland Australia. But kangaroo जैसे animal, that is what you call it as marsupials, which carry the babies in their pouch, they could not survive in other continents. Why? Because biology says, or evolution says, survival of the fittest. So the children should know in animal kingdom to take care of themselves. Otherwise, they should get extinct. Life does not want weaker offsprings to go from one place to another. So kangaroos के समय, because they take the care of their children till the bigger age, so they become easy prey for the swift or the stronger animals, and therefore in the other continents they have got extinct. Birds should know how to fly. Otherwise they will become extinct, except जहाँ पे कोई उसको prey नहीं है. So dodo has got extinct from most of the parts of the world. Kiwi somehow it is surviving. Or the birds should know how to fight. We'll do environment and ecology में many examples such as this. Especially एक bird है which gives birth to 2 birds at a time. 6 महीने में एक बार. It gives birth only to the 2 offsprings. Then as soon as the 2 offsprings are born, mother goes away and mother brings the food, father brings the food, and both mother and father go away, and the mother starts watching the birds from the surroundings. These birds start fighting. So उसमें से एक बच्चा ऐसा होता है जो stronger होता है, जो छोटे भाई को या बहन को खाने नहीं देता. That is, it does not allow the food. जो भी वो bird खा रहा है food, it will take it from its beak and it will not allow. अब human beings, मम्मी आएगी और उसको डांटेगी and छोटे बच्चे को खाना खिलाएगी जिसको खाना नहीं मिल रहा है. This bird is a migratory bird. So what it does, after some time it comes, and जो bird which cannot take its fight for its own food, उसको abandon कर देती है, and the entire family goes to the next location. And the bird which cannot find for its own food has been abandoned and left to die, and it becomes an easy prey for the other species. That is what is known as the survival of the fittest. You should know how to adapt to the surroundings, otherwise there is an extinction. So the same thing is required in this exam also. So the next is mantle. Mantle is, what is this mantle? Mantle starts from somewhere around 70 kilometers. अगर maximum thickness of the Earth's crust देखा to somewhere around 2,900 kilometers, and from 2,900 kilometers to 6,371 kilometers we will find what is the core. But आगे हम देखेंगे कि mantle consists of the maximum volume of the Earth's crust of the entire Earth. Why is it so? Why we say that mantle has the maximum volume of the Earth? not the core. Because jitne bhi rocks which are there in the molten format, they are, or in the semi-molten format, they are found in the mantle. That is the middle layer. This mantle has very, very high heat, where the temperature is somewhere around 4000 degrees Celsius. Mantle is further divided into three parts. The upper part is known as an asthenosphere. Now, what is this asthenosphere? The top 200 kilometers, jahan pe the rocks are in the molten format, is known as an asthenosphere. It is in a jelly-like or semi-solid format. Again, jelly-like and semi-solid, not liquid. Three states of matter hai, that is solid, liquid, gaseous. Usme we are not considering jelly, because ye teen states of matter hai. Jelly to baad mein hai. Jaise that now we do not consider plasma also in it. Why we do consider only solid, liquid, gaseous? Plasma bhi aana chahiye. So over the period of time, ye jo naye concepts aaye hai, jelly-like. Now why jelly-like? Because see, as the mantle is, as we are going deeper, temperature is going to increase at the rate of, ye sab GS के लिए याद रखने की जरूरत नहीं, I am just giving you for the understanding. The temperature increases at the rate of 3.2 degrees Celsius for every 100 meters. 100 मीटर डीप जाओगे तो टेम्परेचर इज गोइंग टू इंक्रीज बाय 3.2 डिग्री सेल्सियस. 1 किलोमीटर अंदर जाओगे तो द टेम्परेचर गोज ऑन इंक्रीजिंग बाय 32 डिग्री सेल्सियस, एंड 32 डिग्री सेल्सियस चेंज ऑफ टेम्परेचर इज टू मच फॉर, इज अ बिग चेंज. ग्लोबल वार्मिंग क्या है? Temperature has increased just by 1.4 to 1.5 degrees Celsius. That is what we call it as an global warming. Heat waves क्या है? Severe heat waves is when the temperature increases by 6 degrees Celsius. Average temperature, say if the temperature increases by 6 to 7 degrees Celsius, we call it as an heat wave, and thus the human starts dying. 2016, the largest number of deaths. अब temperature अंदर जा रहे हो तो it is increasing by 32 degrees Celsius. And therefore, as we go deep inside the mantle, the rocks should be in the molten format at such an high temperature, 4000, 5000 degrees Celsius के temperature पे. But because as we are going inside, ऊपर से pressure भी बढ़ रहा है, and because of the increasing pressure, the rocks do not melt. They are in a jelly-like format or in a semi-molten format, and these rocks, because of high heat, have convectional currents inside them. This convectional currents will continuously rise and fall. Convectional current, कोई भी vertical movement of a heat is known as convection. Convectional current is also seen on the surface, जिसको हम आंधी कहेंगे, जिसको हम winds कहेंगे, जिसको हम cyclones कहेंगे. So there are convectional currents that are present inside them in the asthenosphere. This convectional currents का importance is too. They are today held responsible for the movement of the continents, or for the drifting of the plates, or for the movement of the plates. And secondly, the asthenosphere is the source of magma which comes on the surface of the earth. Have you seen ever magma coming on the surface? Is it the magma, is it a water, or is it a molten rock? It is a molten rock. Just you must have seen steel. If you heat the steel, it becomes a molten steel. So similarly, magma is a molten rock. Not all the magma is in the molten state. Some of the magma is in the semi-molten state, जो हम volcanoes में करेंगे. That is the difference between the acidic magma and the basic magma. So that is the asthenosphere. Why the word asthenosphere? Astheno matlab weak and sphere matlab area. So asthenosphere is the zone of weak rocks which are present. And after the asthenosphere, when we go to the lower mantle, that is after the depth of 700 kilometers, the density of the rocks increase. And this we know because of the increased velocity of the P waves and S waves. So that statement should have been the density of the rocks increases up to 2900 kilometers, not at 2900 kilometers. So, but surprisingly, after 2900 kilometers, we come to a discontinuity which is known as an Gutenberg discontinuity. So that is the core. Now, before you take some of the points regarding the mantle, I guess we have written Mohovoric discontinuity. It is divided into upper mantle and the lower mantle. It is divided into the upper mantle and the lower mantle. The uppermost part of upper mantle. The uppermost part of upper mantle. And crust. And crust is known as lithosphere. Is known as lithosphere. Is known as lithosphere. It is in the solid state. It is in the solid state. It is in the solid state. Litho matlab rock and sphere matlab area. So we are staying on the lithosphere. It is in the solid state. Full stop. This lithosphere is covered by a layer of sedimentary rocks. This lithosphere is covered by a layer of sedimentary rocks. Yes?
Sir, you said lithosphere is covered by
A layer of sedimentary rock.
sedimentary rock. Is it only sedimentary rock or there are basaltic?
There are basaltic rocks, etc. But majorly it is the sedimentary rock. When we do the entirely rocks, we'll say that sedimentary rocks forms 75% of the area of an Earth's crust. Only 25% is made up of the basaltic and igneous rocks. That is why majorly sedimentary rocks. Fine? जिनको बहुत सारे डाउट्स आते हैं, wait till the end of lecture, your doubts will be resolved because ये building blocks है. Some parts here, some parts there, and then entirely your doubts will be resolved. For example, why not basaltic? Why not igneous? Because majorly that rock is in magma, that is in the mantle or core, but only, or it is found below the intrusive rocks. Now, for example, if you are staying anywhere in India, if you go down, you will find mitti. What is that? Sedimentary rock. फिर उसके नीचे है igneous and basaltic rock. But layer किसका है ऊपर? Sedimentary rock का. Now, when we go to the state of Maharashtra or to the state of Karnataka, northern Karnataka, or to the जहाँ we have basaltic plateau, but ऊपर क्या है? Basaltic rock नहीं है. उसके ऊपर is the soil, which is black in color, and soil is formed due to breaking of the rocks. So breaking of anything is sediments. And therefore we say sedimentary rock. Therefore we say it is covered by the layer of sedimentary rock. No doubt you will have to go dug deeper. थोड़ा भी dug करोगे deeper, you will find basaltic rock. But ऊपर क्या है? There is a layer of an sedimentary rocks. Fine with this? Next point. The top 200 kilometers. The top 200 kilometers is the zone of weak rocks, known as asthenosphere, and it is a source of magma or lava, As per the plate tectonic theory, lithospheric plates slide on plastic asthenosphere. Slide on the plastic asthenosphere. Plastic, semi-molten, ये words are interchangeably used. So I am giving you the word plastic also. It can be semi-molten asthenosphere also. 200 is the average, this thing. and it may end at 400 also. Maximum depth is 400 kilometers. Top 200 kilometers of what? Mantle. Top 200 kilometers of mantle. इसका statement का ये meaning नहीं है कि top 200 kilometers from the lithosphere. Top 200 kilometers of only mantle. They are separate. They are totally separate, lithosphere and asthenosphere. Next point. The lower mantle, M-A-N-T-L-E, mantle, the lower mantle is of high density in solid state, in the solid state, which is proved by high velocity of P and S waves. Which is proved by the high velocity of P and S waves. High velocity of both P and S waves. Core. Lithosphere, uppermost part of an mantle. Some part of, फिर ऊपर के 200 kilometers is asthenosphere. अपर मैंटल लिखा है हमने asthenosphere में, और अपर मोस्ट इज लिथोस्फीयर. यस, कौन सा पार्ट? अपर मैंटल एंड अपर मोस्ट मैंटल में फर्क है. अपर मैंटल इज, इफ दिस इज अ मैंटल, दिस इज एन अपर मैंटल. upper mantle का topmost part we are saying is the uppermost mantle, and that has been said by the scientists as lithosphere. Uppermost mantle and the crust is lithosphere. फिर उसके नीचे है asthenosphere. देखो, what you have to understand, mantles ये imaginary line नहीं है कि ये straight एक line है. Though we say Moho discontinuity is at 2,900 is at what kilometer? 30 kilometer, but exactly 30 kilometer पे नहीं हो सकती, वो ऊपर नीचे होगी. Why? Because in this subject it cannot be exactly like physics or maths कि 30 kilometers पे जाओगे तो mantle शुरू हो जाएगा. जब भी mantle शुरू होगा, not all the part will be in the semi-molten state. Because for semi-molten state to occur, the temperature has to go up to a substantial amount, it will melt the rocks. So, jahan se it is melting the rocks, we say it is an asthenosphere. But mantle will start much earlier from that. And that upper part of a mantle, before the melting of the rocks, and the crust is what is? Lithosphere, which is solid. While what is asthenosphere? Which is in the molten format. Getting it? So, if this is the entire mantle, upper mantle and lower mantle, maybe this uppermost part of a mantle is in the solid format. So this solid state and this solid state is what is lithosphere. And uske baad jab molten part shuru hota hai, that is an asthenosphere. That is why we get generally confused between the lithosphere and the asthenosphere. लिथोस्फीयर अपर मोस्ट पार्ट ऑफ एन मेंटल, और ये कॉमन कंफ्यूजन है, हर क्लास का कंफ्यूजन है. ऐसा नहीं है कि इस क्लास में ही है, ये हर क्लास का कंफ्यूजन है. व्हाट इज द डिफरेंस बिटवीन लिथोस्फीयर एंड द एस्थेनोस्फीयर? सो एस्थेनोस्फीयर जहाँ से मेल्टिंग शुरू होता है, जहाँ से जेली लाइक सब्सटेंस शुरू होता है, उसके ऊपर अगर मेंटल है जो होता है, एंड उसके ऊपर देयर इज एन लिथोस्फीयर विच इज सॉलिड, वी कॉल दिस एज एन उसके ऊपर अगर क्रस्ट है एंड मेंटल है, वी कॉल दिस एज एन लिथोस्फीयर. सो व्हाट इमेजिन if this is the crust and the mantle, crust, mantle, and uske niche again is the mantle. Melting starts from this yellow point. So this yellow point we will call this as an asthenosphere, and uske upar it is the solid part. Now because it is in the jelly-like format, what is happening? This jelly-like format allows the continents to move. Continental drift allows the plates to move. So lithosphere का दूसरा नाम है plates. Now what is the plates? Plates means crust plus uppermost solid mantle. Fine with this? Any confusion अभी तक? Any other confusion? Coming to the core. It is the innermost layer. It is the innermost layer. It is the innermost layer. Made up of denser materials. Made up of denser materials. Such as nickel and iron, made up of denser materials such as nickel and iron. It is further divided into outer core and inner core. Outer core, you take a separate point, outer core. The outer core is in a liquid form. Outer core is in a liquid form. Why in the liquid form? Because the pressure is not that greater, but the temperature is comparatively greater. But utna pressure nahi bada hai. This is what we are writing. This is because the rate of increase of temperature is more dominant. The rate of increase of a temperature is more dominant. But the pressure is comparatively lesser. Remember, एग्जाम में वर्ड लिखना पड़ेगा कंपैरेटिवली, बिकॉज ऐसा नहीं कि प्रेशर इज लेस, बट वहां पे जब हम दोनों की कंपैरिजन करते हैं तो व्हाट इज मोर इज द टेम्परेचर एज कंपेयर टू द प्रेशर. एवरीथिंग इज एन कंपैरेटिव एनालिसिस. Because asthenosphere is not liquid. Yes, that is why it is in a semi-molten state. That is what I am stressing. Secondary waves do not stop in the asthenosphere because वो solid ही है, but it is more like a jelly-like substance. S waves are shear waves. अभी I will have to go into the basics of waves, and if I go into the basics of waves, you all will get confused. Because उसकी ज़रूरत भी नहीं है, और वो फिर वो इंजीनियरिंग का सब्जेक्ट बन जाएगा rather than geography. Now there is a concept known as shear strength. Shear strength का concept comes if I ask you ये पानी बाहर क्यों नहीं रहता, इसको ग्लास में क्यों रखना पड़ता है? ये पानी ऐसा निकाल के मैं यहाँ पे क्यों नहीं रख सकता? Because it does not have the shear strength or viscosity to hold something. But अगर इसके अंदर मैंने jelly डाली तो can I take that jelly and it will remain keep the shape? Because jelly has the required shear strength. अब S waves are the kind of waves which are generated. ये energy waves है, ये कहीं पे भी generate हो सकती है. So this S waves are the kind of waves which will when they pass from one object, वो उसी object में से pass कर पाएगी which can hold उसका shape or which has a shear strength. It will not be able to cross through the object which does not have a shear strength. So because liquid does not have a shear strength, S waves उसमें से pass नहीं कर पाएगी. Why? Because S waves cause too much of a deformation of an object and ultimately the object collapses. But jelly hai to it can pass through the object. Now you can understand why. What do you understand the difference between jelly and a liquid? Liquid does not have uska shear strength. Shear strength matlab holding capacity. Jelly has an holding capacity. See, S waves का application is also used in automobile engineering. आजकल मारुति की गाड़ियों को स्पेशली everyone is complaining कि they have very worst build quality. So, and what is Maruti saying? Maruti is saying this is our new platform. वैसे if you look it properly from the engineering angle, so yes, Maruti has used this same technology. That is, whenever there is a collision, तो पूरी गाड़ी क्रम्बल हो जाती है. पूरी गाड़ी क्रम्बल होने के बाद the S waves do not have the S waves require shear strength and they are more destructive. S waves जैसी waves. So जब गाड़ी टूट के गिर जाती है, क्रम्बल हो जाती है, तो energy waves cannot pass through that and as a result of this, the people inside are saved. But हमें क्या लगता है, अरे गाड़ी खराब हो गई, गाड़ी टूट गई, ये कितनी बकवास build quality है. But actually the reason behind that technology is that they make the build in such a way that they do not allow the waves to pass. And what is not the way of allowing the waves to pass is pura that car becomes a crumble zone. So गाड़ी के parts टूट गए और अंदर जो आप जिसमें केज में बैठे हो वो बच गया. So that is the technology. And that is the same thing which is being used here when I say shear strength. Because if you say technology, if you say build quality, तो फिर Formula 1 की cars, यही मारुति कह रही है, Formula 1 की cars are made up of fiber. तो fiber तो और जल्दी टूट जाएगा. But they are considered safer. Now, ये सारा concept comes from the shear strength. And shear strength is the ability to hold the liquid. Fine with this? Even if after that you are confused, सिर्फ इतना याद रखना एग्जाम के लिए कि S waves do not pass through liquid and outer core ही है liquid में format में. They will not go beyond this. Okay, so take down. Comparatively less. The liquid outer core, the liquid outer core, the liquid outer core, due to rotation of the earth, due to rotation of the earth, consists of charged particles, consists of charged particles, consists of charged particles, which is responsible for magnetic property of the earth. Which is responsible for magnetic property of the earth. Thus the rotating earth and the liquid outer core, rotating earth and the liquid outer core makes earth a geomagnet, makes earth a geomagnet, makes earth a geomagnet. एक अलग टॉपिक है geomagnetism, but again it is not in GS. Geomagnetism. I'll explain you geomagnetism in very simple words जब हम will require इसका application. Next is the inner core. Is the inner core. Very dense, very dense, very dense, solid, solid, and the innermost area, dominated mostly by iron, is known as inner core. as the speed of P waves, as the speed of P waves, as the speed of P waves is highest in inner core, is highest in inner core, we conclude that inner core is solid. We conclude that inner core is solid. Of the PPTs for your preliminary examination point of view. So how do we study the interior of the earth? We have done this. There are two sources to study. That is the direct source by digging deep mines, projects to penetrate the depths such as deep ocean drilling project and integrated ocean drilling project. हमने इसका लिखा है. Maximum depth we have gone. यहाँ पे कितना maximum depth we have gone? Somewhere around 12 kilometers. And volcanic eruptions by analyzing the molten material. But there are some indirect sources such as studying the pressure and temperature. We already know now that the temperature and pressure goes on increasing as we go deeper. Studying the density of the earth, we know that density also increases, and meteors that can reach the earth. Why meteors that reach the earth? Because we study the core of a meteor and then we come to a conclusion, and the study of the seismic waves. Fine with this? Then direct sources. The Earth's radius is XYZ kilometers, 6370 kilometers, while the deepest mine in the world, ये prelims के लिए याद रखो, कहाँ पे? In South Africa is just 3.9 kilometers deep. This is the photo of the deepest mine in the world, and it is an example of an diamond mine, gold mine, क्या? It is an example of an gold mine. Then, in ocean, the drilling project, we have just reached up to the 12 kilometers, and this is how the deep ocean drilling is being done. Rotary drilling is being done, deep ocean drilling. Fine with this? So we have been able to reach only up to this depth, or this is the deepest mine in the world, that is the deep cast mining, or we can say pit mining कहते हैं इसको. But therefore the best waves are the seismic waves. So focus and epicenter. कहाँ पे focus? Focus is always below the earth, and epicenter is on the top of the earth. So seismic waves, they are recorded with the help of an instrument known as seismograph. We have already done this. Key points हम यहाँ पे focus करेंगे. Earthquake is the shaking of the earth during which energy waves W are generated that travel in all the directions. The point where earthquake occurs is known as a focus or hypocenter, which is always inside the earth. The point on the surface nearest to the focus is called as an epicenter. So type of the seismic waves, body waves and surface waves. Body waves travel through the body. Body waves, after interacting with the surface rocks, generate the surface waves. Two types of body waves, primary waves and the secondary waves. So you can see P wave, stretching and squeezing of the materials. Yellow or red color ka dots are the materials, and this is how the materials will move. There will be stretching, there will be squeezing of the materials. While S wave, materials will go up and down. Can you understand that now? So this is how they go up and down. The P waves are similar to sound waves, means they can travel through gaseous, liquid and the solid material. As they travel with faster speed, they are the first waves to arrive at the surface. P waves, ye key point yaad rakhna, P waves vibrate parallel to the direction of waves. This is the direction of wave and their vibration is in parallel to the direction of the waves, leading to stretching and squeezing of the materials. S waves are known as transverse waves. Why transverse waves? Transverse matlab perpendicular. So you can see, अभी अगर कोई wave ऊपर नीचे जा रही है, तो particle should have shear strength. पानी does not have a shear strength कि वो ऊपर भी जाएगा, नीचे भी जाएगा, and therefore S waves cannot pass through the water. पानी में shear strength तब भी है अगर large water body है और उसको आप बहुत ही छोटा पत्थर जब फेंकते हो, that is it causes ripples. But इतनी बड़ी wave जब जाती है, तो water will be displaced in all directions. And therefore it cannot pass through liquid. So S waves are the next wave to arrive at the surface. Interestingly, S waves can travel only through solids. They vibrate perpendicular to the direction of wave propagation, creating crests and troughs in the materials. So building upar niche, land upar and niche, resulting into creation of crest and troughs. Surface waves are the slowest of all seismic waves. They are most violent and destructive, and you have seen that surface waves are formed due to interaction of both. So you see the material में ऊपर नीचे भी जा रहा है, and it is going in the to and fro manner also, and therefore buildings compress and they collapse. या buildings ऊपर नीचे, रास्ते ऊपर नीचे, and as a result of this, of an surface wave. And this is an example of an ground motion. P wave में ground motion बिल्कुल detect नहीं होता, and we call this as an tremor. The first. S waves में the tremor is stronger, and then this is the shock of an earthquake. In the ground motion, in the surface waves. So surface waves में we can see the ground motion is very, very high. Can I go to the next slide? So the three-layered structure of the interior of the earth: crust, mantle, inner core and the outer core. The earth is made up of concentric zones. Outer part is lithosphere. The lithosphere has two parts, Sial and Sima. Below the lithosphere lies the mesosphere. Meso matlab middle layer. Mesosphere anywhere in the world. Meso matlab middle. So हमारे climatology में भी we have a word known as a mesosphere. The innermost layer of the earth is known as core or barysphere, because the bary means depth, which is very, very deep. So bathymetry, bary, etc., and we call this as an barysphere or the Nephe layer. Sial and Sima, uppermost layer of the earth, just below the sedimentary rocks is Sial, dominated by silica and aluminium, has an average density of 2.7 grams per centimeter cube. This layer is mainly composed of granite. As the continents are made up of Sial, it is known as a continental crust. I guess we have written this also. Sima, the layer of the earth just below the Sial, as it is dominated by silica and magnesium, it is known as Sima. Average density is somewhere around 3 grams per centimeter cube. This layer is mainly composed of basalt. As the continents are made up as the oceans are made up of Sima, it is known as an oceanic crust. I will change this before sending it to you. As this oceans are made up of seema, it is known as an oceanic crust. Oceans मतलब oceanic crust is made up of. ऐसे नहीं कि कल कोई डाउट पूछेगा सर ओशन में तो पानी होता है. So no, that is we are saying here that is the oceanic crust. And you can see this is where we stay. Continental rock, then the oceanic crust, and then the mantle. So therefore we say continents are floating on the oceans. मतलब continental crust is floating on the oceans. Literally does not means कि continent is ocean के ऊपर float कर रहा है, but the continental crust, light brown, is floating on the oceanic crust, which is a dark brown, an oceanic island. Why dark in color? Basalt. Why lighter in color? Granite. Then we come to the Nephi layer, the innermost layer composed of nickel and iron. It is having a very very high density of 11 grams per centimeter cube. Average है ये inner core और outer core का. मतलब outer core, inner core में the density goes to much greater. That is, it becomes greater even than 15 grams per centimeter cube. Recent studies have shown that core is further divided into inner and outer core. Fine with this? Now the role of seismic waves. The best way to know the interior of the earth is the study of the seismic waves. Why best? Because in सब से आपको answer लिखना है, because the velocity changes and also their direction changes. So the velocity of these waves changes while passing through the different mediums, and they refract or reflect as they grow from the medium of different densities, and hence their direction also changes. Can I go to the next slide? S waves will travel only through solid. P waves travel through the earth and are refracted when they pass through a medium. The path of these waves are curved because of the density is slowly changing. So what can we conclude by looking at this diagram? That is, this is an which wave? P wave, and this is an S wave. So S wave is not passing through this liquid outer core, and इसीलिए ये पूरा area, if the earthquake is found here and you are standing here and with the instrument known as seismograph, you will not find S wave. You will find only that is an P wave coming, because S wave यहाँ से pass ही नहीं होती. Are you understanding? So the area where the S waves do not, or the any wave is not recorded, is known as a shadow zone. For example, P wave का भी shadow zone है ये. Why? Because of maximum refraction. So there are some areas where the seismic waves are not recorded. These are known as shadow zones. And let us see in the colorful diagram exactly what is this shadow zone. So this is an shadow zone. This is the shadow zone of P wave, and this is the shadow zone of an S wave. The shadow zone of an S wave is from 105 या 103. कुछ books 105, कुछ books 103. You can remember any of the figure. 103 to 103 degrees from the origin. While the P wave का shadow zone is from 103 to 143. 103 to 143. मैंने दूसरा भी figure दिया है यहाँ पे 105 to 145. So the shadow zone of an S wave, can I say, is larger than the shadow zone of P wave? Yeah. Why? Because the entire zone beyond 105 is the shadow zone of S waves, while the shadow zone of P wave is only from 105 degrees to 145 degrees. कहाँ से degree? From the focus. 90 degrees from the focus and 105 degrees from the focus. So by knowing these properties, we divide the earth into three, that is the crust, mantle and the core. Crust is further divided into continental crust, mantle into upper and lower mantle, and the core in the outer and inner core. So this is how the earth is, and on this top we are staying somewhere. So crust 0 to 50 kilometers thick, 0 to 70 kilometers thick. Then after, you can see this is the crust, continental crust, oceanic crust. Uske baad is the asthenosphere. But the uppermost part जो molten नहीं है, and this part is now is known as an lithosphere. Then we have the lower mantle. Mantle, upper part of an mantle, asthenosphere. The uppermost part of an mantle and the crust is lithosphere. Then we have the core, outer core and the inner core. And the same things have been given here with some data. That is it is the crust, it is the outermost solid part. The mean thickness is 5 kilometers, where that the continental crust is 30 kilometers. As it is likha hai humne. The continental crust is thicker in the areas of major mountains. It is as much as 70 kilometers in the Himalayan region. The continental crust is made up of Sial, silica and aluminium. ये older view के साथ we have combined this, and mostly composed of the rocks having granitic nature, that is granite-like rocks. The oceanic crust is made up of Sima, having a density of 3 grams per centimeter cube, mostly composed of basaltic rocks. Fine with this? Mantle. The portion of an interior beyond the crust is known as mantle, separated by Moho discontinuity. The mantle extends from Moho discontinuity to the depth of 2,900 kilometers. The upper portion is called as an asthenosphere. Maximum depth is 400 kilometers, but average depth is 200 kilometers. It is the zone of weak rocks. Asthenosphere is the main source of magma. Mantle is denser than the crust, and you can see the figure here. Kitna density of the mantle? Average is 3.4 grams per centimeter cube. The crust and the uppermost mantle. Be very careful about the words. Upper and uppermost mein farak hai. Is known as an lithosphere. Then we have the core. Lies between 2,900 to 6,400 kilometers. Gutenberg discontinuity lies between core and the mantle. S-waves do not pass through the core. Why? Because outer core is liquid. This liquid nature of the outer core is responsible for magnetic property of the earth. मैंने आपको extend करके बताया. Why? Because of an charged particles. Inner core is solid. This core is made up of very heavy material, mostly constituted by nickel and iron. It is sometimes referred as a knife layer. Fine with this? And the diagram which you can draw again. That is, you can use this diagram also for the examination. Any doubts in the interior of the earth? Can I go to the next slide? The continental drift theory, the present day arrangement of the continents. Present day arrangement, fix this, jigsaw fit. Take this and fix it here, jigsaw fit. Take India and fix it here, take Australia and fix it here, and Antarctica, fix it upwards. In simple words, Madagascar, fix it here. So this is why Wegener gave a theory known as an continental drift theory. You can see the photo of Wegener also. The Alfred Wegener, given by Wegener in 1912, he assumed that Sial is made up of continental masses drifting over Sima. So ये सोचते थे Sial is floating on Sima. आज की modern theories are saying that the plates float on the asthenosphere. Nothing much difference. He assumed that this is how the original Pangaea was. He assumed that all the land masses were once united to form a supercontinent known as Pangaea, and it was surrounded by a super ocean known as an Panthalassa. So this is how the Pangaea was. This is what is the peninsular India. This is what is Africa. This is what is South America. This is Antarctica.
Sir, in the starting also Tethys Sea.
No. Don't go by this diagram. The diagram to I have chosen to make you understand. That इसमें there is an boundaries there. Otherwise, normal Pangaea में ये boundaries नहीं थी.
Sir, and when does after drifting?
Second, this is the stage of formation of Tethys Sea. That is, during the Carboniferous period, Pangaea broke into two parts, Laurasia land and Gondwana land, and this was responsible for the formation of the Tethys Sea. The continents either moved northwards or westwards. Northwards matlab equatorwards, or westwards. ये सारे गए towards the west. This part started moving to the north. What is this part? This is India. Now you can see where it is located. It is near the Arctic Circle. Antarctic Circle. और आज कहाँ पे है? Equator cross करके it is near the Tropic of Cancer. So you see how much distance it has drifted, and obviously it will then influence the evolution of life because climate has changed over the period of time. Subsequently, the Laurasia land and the Gondwana land further broke into different land masses. You know this, Laurasia and Gondwana ka, what are the land masses? Westward movement of both North and South America resulted into Atlantic. Northward movement of peninsular India, Indian Ocean. Panthalassa was reduced in size to form the present day Pacific Ocean, and Mediterranean Sea is the remaining part of Tethys Sea. That is, baki ka things you already know this.
Sir, we are saying Himalayas, where before that there was Tethys Sea.
Himalayas तो continental drift बताता ही नहीं है. It is plate tectonic theory. So these are the 4 stages. 200 million years ago, Pangea. 130 million years ago, the formation of Tethys. Some 65 million years ago, the continent's Atlantic Ocean is forming. But is समय you can see North America and Europe, Eurasia was still together. And then in the present day, we find North America, South America, Africa, Eurasia, Australia and Antarctica. And you can see movement of India. पहले Tethys Sea था, ये सब पूरा is the Tethys Sea. It started going towards the north, declining the Tethys Sea, north, and ultimately अब यहाँ पे Tethys Sea नहीं है जहाँ पे India है. But the other part is still there, that is Mediterranean Sea. Some part of this Tethys Sea, which was open, has now been closed because Africa has touched Eurasia. And इसीलिए we find Alps and Atlas. इसीलिए we find यहाँ पे Himalayas. Fine with this? नहीं, geology is different. कौन सा कॉन्टिनेंट है? इट इज बेस्ड ऑन जियोलॉजी. अफ्रीका का रॉक्स आर वेरी डिफरेंट फ्रॉम एशिया का रॉक्स. मिडल ईस्ट इज एन पार्ट ऑफ एशिया. एक्चुअली यूरोप ऑल्सो इज एन पार्ट ऑफ एशिया, बट कल्चरली फिर उसको डिफरेंट कर दिया. अदरवाइज दिस इज एंटायरली इज यूरोप ऑल्सो, एशिया ऑल्सो. सो बट कल्चरली हम फिर यहाँ कहते हैं यूरल्स है. Deciduous means desert. Desert is something different. Desert has nothing to do with geomorphology. It is to climatology. 25 साल बाद ये भी डेजर्ट हो सकता है जहाँ पे आज हम खड़े हैं. और 200 साल पहले ये डेजर्ट नहीं था. So it was Harappan. जब भी हड़प्पा एंड मोहनजोदड़ो सिविलाइजेशन था, it was in densely forested region. So it has to do with the climate, and climate keeps on changing. So this is how, in simple words, Paleozoic, Mesozoic and Cenozoic में how it has changed. ये डायग्राम सिर्फ रेफरेंस के लिए दिया है, ये एग्जाम में नहीं ड्रॉ करना है. So एग्जाम में you can try drawing this one. Fine. And you can see continental drifting, which has occurred over the period of time. So this is how the continents have drifted. Can you find India in this? So opening up of Tethys, and you can see this is India. It has gone up over the period of time. Pangea, opening up of Tethys, and this is how India is going upwards to form with the Himalayas. Convectional current theory. Now you will see why, how really is the interior of the earth. This is how the interior of the earth is. Thankfully, rocks are not that good conductors जो नीचे है, नहीं तो हम ऊपर खड़े नहीं रह सकते थे. Because नीचे it is totally hot. So we are just very, that is why I said, man is a dust of a dust. पूरे अर्थ का वी ह्यूमन बींग्स आर जस्ट अ डस्ट ऑफ अ डस्ट. और ये मेरा स्टेटमेंट नहीं है, एक फेमस जोग्राफर का स्टेटमेंट है. ह्यूमन बीइंग इज नथिंग बट डस्ट ऑफ अ डस्ट विच इज शेप्ड, चेंज्ड एंड इफ रिक्वायर्ड eliminated by the nature. But man thinks that he can control the nature, which is totally wrong. ये एक फेमस जोग्राफर का स्टेटमेंट है. Why we say we are a dust of a dust? Because यहीं कहीं पे एक डॉट होगा, एक सिटी. इस सिटी का के अंदर के डॉट्स will be human beings, but in reality this is lithosphere, and then we have this is an asthenosphere. And you can see what is happening in the asthenosphere. The convectional currents, hot, and any convectional current after rising becomes cold, so it comes down. And this is why convectional current. See, air या कोई भी convectional current when it rises, ऊपर जाते जाते it reduces in temperature, and because it reduces in temperature, वो फिर से नीचे आता है. And this is how the convectional currents are setting in. But जहाँ से we can see the convectional currents are bifurcating, a continent is broken, crack हुआ है, and then we have a divergent boundary. जहाँ पे the convectional currents are coming together, you can see the continents are converging. And this we will do, it is a convergent plate boundary. So you remember that according to one theory, convectional currents in the Earth's mantle along the tectonic plates, and therefore the currents move the two plates apart. So this is an ocean, and we are going to start with one theory, what is known as the seafloor spreading theory, and this is what happens below the seafloor. So divergent plate boundary, and यहाँ पे is the convergent plate boundary. Fine with this? And just have a basic idea of how the seafloor is. This is the ocean. Along the ocean, we will see there is something known as a mid-oceanic ridge, and sides में there are trenches, and उसके नीचे there are convectional currents that are starting, and we are doing the seafloor spreading theory of an Harry Hess. So उसी ईमेल में लेक्चर के साथ आपके अकाउंट में विल बी अटैच द पीपीटीज. जैसे आपको पीडीएफ मिले है, द सेम वे दिस पीपीटीज विल बी देयर. यू कैन डाउनलोड इट अलॉन्ग विद द लेक्चर्स. नाउ हैरी हैज गिव द आइडिया ऑफ एन सी फ्लोर स्प्रेडिंग. Continental drift, Wegener. उसने कहा continents are moving. Harry Hess is saying which is what is moving is the sea floor. And what is the background of this theory? The background of this theory was they were laying down the telegraphic cables between America and Europe. And बीच में what is there? There is an Atlantic Ocean. बीच में there is an Atlantic Ocean. So if we consider this coast as the coast of North America, this coast as a coast, this as an Atlantic Ocean का surface, and this coast as the coast of Europe. So they initially thought कि telegraphic cables का laying down will be very easy because water body के नीचे there will be more or less flat. So you just have to lay down the telegraphic cables and connect it. But in reality, when they started the process, they saw that ocean floor is not at all flat. Instead, on the ocean floor, we found some of the very deepest parts of the world, what we today know as trenches. Along the ocean floors, we find continuous mountains which are parallel to each other, and we will call them as ridges. And surprisingly, these ridges are found at the middle of an ocean, and therefore उनको कहा गया था the mid-oceanic ridges. They were known as an mid-oceanic ridges, and there is a continuous magma or lava that comes out from the mid-oceanic ridges. That means along this mid-oceanic ridges, there is a continuous amount of volcanic eruption, and there are some of the mountains which are very high along the ocean floor कि ऊपर वो आके they form an islands. Example, अगर Atlantic Ocean है तो ये this can be Iceland, this can be Greenland वाला region which has the base. Australia is in Pacific Ocean. So Australia is a proper island. Australia is a continent. These are very, very small islands. Example is Andaman and Nicobar Islands. The peaks of the Himalayas have gone down and they project upwards as the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Example is Hawaii Islands. Hawaii Islands, which start from the sea floor. So if you look at the highest peak of the Hawaii Island, Mauna Loa and Mauna Kea, uska height from 0 kilometers, that is from the sea level, is somewhere around 4,200 meters. But isme you should also know that below the sea floor it is 6,000 meters, that is 10.2 kilometers. So, and what is the height of the Mount Everest? 8,048 meters, that is, it is somewhere around 8 kilometers. And this is why we say that sometimes on the surface of the earth, Mount Everest se bhi bade mountains hai. The depth of the Mariana Trench is 12 kilometers deep from the sea floor. So, उसमें एक पूरा का पूरा Mount Everest आ जाएगा. So, this gave rise to a theory which is known as an sea floor spreading theory. Why? Because the ocean floor was not very flat. What they found? They basically found that there is a mid-oceanic ridges. There are some of the sea mounts, trenches, etc., and trenches and also the sea mounts. And therefore, Harry Hess, who was US Navy engineer, gave a theory known as a sea floor spreading theory. Now understand the theory, then we will write this sea floor spreading theory. Remember, it is an evidence of an plate tectonic, and it is an evidence also of an continental drift theory. Now see what Harry has said. Harry has said the oceanic crust, if this is an oceanic crust which is present, this is again another oceanic crust which is present. So, can I say this is Seema? Below this crust, क्या है? Below the crust, below the oceanic crust, what is there? Asthenosphere. So, can I say there is magma below? And above the oceanic crust, what is there? Above this oceanic crust, it is water. Cl क्यों होगा? There is an water which is present, that is the sea which is present. जरूरी नहीं कि हमेशा oceanic crust के ऊपर there is an continental crust. Now inside this magma there are convectional currents which are rising, and due to the rising convectional currents, maybe this is the direction of an convectional current which is rising. This is the other direction of an convectional current which is rising. ये कहीं पे भी हो रहा है, below the oceanic crust as well as below the continental crust, the convectional currents are rising. And after rising, they will get deflected in other directions and they will come and settle down. So this rising convectional currents, what they are doing? They are breaking the oceanic crust into two parts. And as a result, मैंने यहाँ पे gap बनाया. The oceanic crust is broken into two parts. Now I am asking you a simple question, कि oceanic crust is क्यों broken into two parts? Why not continental crust is broken into two parts? It is because it is thinner, 0 to 5 kilometers. Weak है because it is thinner, and continental crust is very thick. So इसलिए we do not find anywhere mid-continent spreading theory. हम क्या कहते हैं? Sea floor spreading. हमने अभी तक continental spreading theory नहीं किया है, because continental crust cannot be broken as it is thicker. But oceanic crust is easily broken by the magma. Now, when it is broken, can I say due to the diverging limbs or to the diverging ocean currents, this oceanic crust will diverge, it will move in two different directions? So this is an oceanic crust which is there, it is going to move in two different directions. And because it moves in two different directions, what will happen is that the magma from below will rise. And as this magma from below will rise, it will come into the contact with water, and its gap, say, before flowing, it will solidify into two parts, resulting into formation of, it will solidify this way, resulting into formation of a parallel mountain system. And this parallel mountain system which is formed is known as a oceanic ridge. But it does not stop here. We'll make a proper diagram of this. First, understand the theory. The continents from this mid-oceanic ridge which is formed, it will then, because this ये पूरा crust is moving, ये यहाँ से निकल के, means what I am making it here, it will be displaced and it will be formed in the surrounding region. So the first mid-oceanic ridge which was formed, it is now forming here. Why? Because it is moving to this part, it is diverging, and a new mid-oceanic ridge will be formed along the region जहाँ पे old oceanic ridge was there. Similarly, this will also keep on moving. So maybe you will find numerous such oceanic ridges which are found in this region. You just have to imagine क्या हो रहा है, ये conveyor belt जैसा काम कर रहा है कि it is expanding. So जो first time this mountain which was formed here, it is now taken to some other part. Then the second time जो mountains form हुए थे, it is taken away. Third time and the fourth time. So can I say there is a continuous formation of mid-oceanic ridges? Why there is a continuous formation of mid-oceanic ridges? Because magma comes and solidifies. और ओशियनिक क्रस्ट के नीचे कौन सा है मैग्मा, बसाल्ट या ग्रेनाइट, basalt, and therefore this mid-oceanic ridges will be mostly made up of basalt rock. Magma, what is this? Rock only in the molten form. When it comes up, it cools. Why it cools? Because ऊपर पानी है. It comes into contact with water, it cools, and because it cools so quickly, it solidifies and a mountain जैसा this thing is formed. Once a mountain is formed, they are parallel to each other. हम कहते हैं उसको ridges. Any mountains which are parallel are known as ridges. These are known as mid-oceanic ridges. Once a mid-oceanic ridge is formed, again sea floor spreading to is occurring. That is this entire crust is moving. So when this mid-oceanic ridge is formed, it is taken in other direction. So maybe the continents which were first time formed are found here. That is, I am marking this as 1. What does it mean? These two mountains जो बने थे, they belong to the same orogeny or similar type of mountains. Then I am marking this as 2. That is, these two mountains are of similar orogeny. Then 3. These 3 mountains are of similar orogeny. Then 4. These 2 mountains are of same orogeny. In the end क्या होगा? If this mid-oceanic ridge again goes away, if this part again displaces, a new mountain will be created, and therefore this is why it is known as a sea floor spreading. Why? Because the sea floor is broken due to the convectional currents that come from the magma. After breaking the convectional currents, there is a crack, and the oceanic crust is taken in 2 different directions. जैसे ही crack is there, there is enough space for magma to come up. This magma comes up, solidifies, and it solidifies to form a mid-oceanic ridges. The older ridges are taken at the other side, while the new mid-oceanic ridges are being continuously created. So a ridge which is at equal distance, or the oceanic crust which is an equal distance away from this gap, is of same orogeny. This is of same orogeny. But as the time progresses, new ridges are created, but the old ridges which were created earlier, they get lesser in height because of erosion, because of denudation, because of destruction. And इसीलिए हमने diagram में क्या बनाया है? That is, as we are going away from the mid-oceanic ridges, what is happening? The height of the mountains is decreasing, and ultimately वो इतना decrease हो जाता है that it becomes a part of an oceanic crust. That is, they are deposited as the sediments on the oceanic crust. So whenever the magma is created, there is an volcanic eruption. But you can see, what is your idea of an volcanic eruption? The अभी तक जो हमने देखा है, धरती को एकदम loud explosion, it will throw in all different directions and it will flow. No. this volcanic eruption is of silent type. Why silent type? Because it is already getting a space to escape. See, again take an example of an pressure cooker. सीटी निकाल दोगे उसके ऊपर की तो वेपर विल इजीली एस्केप, बट जब सीटी करता है तो वेपर डज नॉट अलाउ the CT or the whistle does not allow the vapor to escape, so pressure will build up and ultimately जोर से vapor is going to escape. So similarly on the surface of the earth there are two kinds of volcanic eruptions. One is the silent type of volcanic eruption and दूसरा is the violent type of an volcanic eruption. This volcanic eruption is on silent type because it requires it gets the necessary gap to escape, and we say such kind of eruptions are fissure eruptions. What do you mean by fissure? Fissure means a crack which is created. So it gets a necessary crack that is created, and this kind of an eruption is known as a fissure eruption. So all along this we find there is an mid-oceanic ridge. So can I say thus this is how the sea floor is expanding, right? It has been proved. Are you getting, can you imagine that sea floor is expanding? Any doubts here? So are you, as per this theory, is the sea floor expanding? Yes, right? Sea floor is expanding. Now, her doubt is if the sea floor is expanding, that means earth is also an expanding? Because if the earth is earth expanding or not? Earth is expanding every year, uska size is increasing? Expanding agar earth ho raha hai to uska size should increase. So earth is not expanding. Sea floor is spreading or expanding, that means continents should be shrinking. So are the size of the continent shrinking? Is the size shrinking every year? No. Why is it so? Because jo bhi sea floor which is expanding here, it comes into the contact at this part with the continental crust. Understand, this is the second part of an sea floor spreading. But at this junction where there is an continent, what is this? And this is also an continent. That is an continental crust. Can I say Sial? So when at this part, at the other end, when the continental crust mixes with the oceanic crust, what happens to the oceanic crust is, this oceanic crust being denser, it goes below the continental crust. And when it goes below the continental crust, why it goes below the continental crust? Because it is much, much denser as compared to the continental crust. Ab niche kya hai yahan pe? Again there is an magma. So when it goes very deep below the continental crust, it will be destroyed. So yahan pe also, this oceanic crust which is there, it will go below the continental crust. And once it goes somewhere around 80 kilometers deep, 80 kilometers deep chahiye, so that there has to be sufficient amount of heat to melt, it becomes destroyed, it gets destroyed, and thus it forms a magma. And this is how the oceanic crust is continuously being created and destroyed. Kahan pe wo destroy ho raha hai? It is destroying. That is why I had asked you not to make the diagram, because this is the proper diagram of the seafloor spreading. Ye bhi mat banao. I will give you an easier diagram. So the point where it gets destroyed, what happens? Why it gets destroyed? Because it subducts, can I say, or it goes below the continental crust. Why it goes below the continental crust? Because the oceanic crust is much denser and continental crust is lighter. So whenever there is a collision, jo denser hai, it will go below. And this is where we find in the world trenches. And we find this parts of the world as oceanic trenches. and surrounding the oceanic trenches, kahin to dur from the oceanic trenches, is what we have is the mid oceanic ridges. Then after that, it is destroyed, it becomes a part of magma, and again ये process चलता रहेगा. That is, the convectional currents will take it in this region, and thus again there will be an volcanic eruption through which it will come out through a crack, and thus the oceanic crust, can I say, is continuously created along the mid-oceanic ridges, and it is destroyed along the trenches. So this is what is the seafloor spreading theory. So there is a formation of mid-oceanic ridges and there is a formation of trenches, and you can now draw this proper diagram. Yes?
So by this way, can we say that the ocean is shrinking?
No, ocean is expanding. Where it is shrinking? By this you can see, is the ocean is being expanding here and it is being destroyed. So there is neither expansion nor destruction. Ocean is also constant, the continents are also constant. What is happening is ocean floor is being destroyed here. So if you are saying it is being created here, it is being destroyed here. So if you are saying shrinking because of looking at this, no. Why? Because it is being created here. If you say it is expanding, no. Why? Because it is destroyed here. So nothing is happening to the ocean, the area is being constant.
So this means the trenches are found only near the continents.
Hamesha trenches are found near the continents. Where is Mariana Trench? Near Philippines. क्योंकि ये हैरी हेस ने नहीं कहा था. यही है डाइवर्जेंट प्लेट बाउंड्री, प्लेट टेक्टोनिक्स की. उसमें हम लिखेंगे कि माउंटेन्स आर फाउंड, बिकॉज ये प्लेट टेक्टोनिक्स कहता है कि इज अ कन्वर्जेंट प्लेट बाउंड्री, और यहाँ पे माउंटेन्स, और ये डाइवर्जेंट प्लेट बाउंड्री, मिड ओशियनिक रीजस. हम हैरी हेस ने क्या कहा था वो कह रहे हैं. यहाँ पे माउंटेन्स के बारे में हैरी हेस ने बात ही नहीं की थी. मिड कॉन्टिनेंट रिच क्यों नहीं है? बिकॉज कॉन्टिनेंट इतने थिक है कि इट इज नॉट ईजी फॉर द कन्वेक्शनल करंट्स टू ब्रेक देम इनटू टू पार्ट्स. कौन सा, क्या लाइटर दिखा रहा हूँ मैं? तो कॉन्टिनेंटल क्रस्ट इज लाइटर, ओशियनिक क्रस्ट इज हेवी. फाइन. उसके बाद बिकॉज कॉन्टिनेंटल क्रस्ट इज थिकर, ओशियनिक क्रस्ट इज थिन. हैवी एंड लाइट से कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. अगर किसी चीज़ को तोड़ना है तो इट इज थिकनेस. थिकनेस भी तो मैटर करेगी कन्वेक्शनल करंट्स को. वो यहाँ पे डेप्थ, यहाँ पे इसका कुछ कुछ जगह थिकनेस इज 1 किलोमीटर ओनली. सो इज इट नॉट ईजी फॉर द कन्वेक्शनल करंट्स टू ब्रेक द 1 किलोमीटर वाला रीजन एज कंपेयर टू 30 किलोमीटर्स वाला रीजन. आई एम गिविंग यू टू थिंग्स. वन इज कॉटन, 30 किलोमीटर बड़ा कॉटन, और दूसरा है प्लास्टिक. डेंसिटी ज़्यादा है प्लास्टिक की, पर उसकी थिकनेस है सिर्फ 2 सेंटीमीटर. तोड़ना क्या आसान रहेगा? कॉटन तोड़ना आसान रहेगा या? यस, डेंसिटी. इट डिपेंड्स अपॉन द थिकनेस, नॉट ऑन द डेंसिटी. अगेन यू आर कंफ्यूजिंग. हाँ हाँ, इट डज नॉट डिपेंड्स अपॉन द दिस. हाँ, कौन सी? रुको, अभी सारे डाउट्स आज के दिन मत एक्सप्लेन करो. इतना याद रखना कि कॉन्टिनेंट्स के नीचे ओशियनिक क्रस्ट है. एक्चुअली इन रियलिटी is कि जो हिमालयाज वो सब है, they are floating on the oceanic crust. Yes, these are like roots which are floating on the oceanic crust. Now, if you are saying कि why only the sea floor is spreading, because this is a continental crust. This is oceanic crust. Uske niche bhi there is a little bit of an oceanic crust, but you should not show that in the diagram. This is so for the convectional currents which are coming from here, which is easier to break. The part which is thinner is easier to break. The part which is thicker, it cannot be easily broken. Why? Because to break the continental crust, the convectional currents will have to first break the oceanic crust which is there, iske below, and then it will have to break the continental crust which is above. So that is not possible, and hence the what is easy to break is only the oceanic crust, and therefore we have a sea floor spreading. Getting it? Any other doubts? या कुछ कुछ डाउट्स के बाद और ज़्यादा कन्फ्यूजन बढ़ जाता है. सो इफ यू आर कंफ्यूज्ड, इतना याद रखना, द ओशनिक क्रस्ट इज ब्रोकन. व्हाई इट इज ब्रोकन? बिकॉज इट इज मच थिनर. व्हाई कॉन्टिनेंटल क्रस्ट इज नॉट ब्रोकन? बिकॉज इट इज थिकर. अब बहुत ज़्यादा डीप में जाओगे तो उतना कन्फ्यूजन बढ़ेगा. फाइन, दिस इज व्हाट इज द सी फ्लोर स्प्रेडिंग थियरी. सो don't write anything, just tell me whether I am right or wrong. The sea floor is like a belt of luggage on the airport. It is being created at some places and it is being destroyed at some places, right? So we can say, yahi Harry Hess ne kaha that it behaves like a conveyor belt. Conveyor belt means it is being created and it is being destroyed. Now where it is being created? It is being created along the mid-oceanic ridges. Why mid-oceanic ridges? The continental crust is broken into two parts due to divergence of convectional currents or due to the divergent boundary. As the crust is broken, niche se magma comes on the surface. As the magma comes up, it solidifies to give rise to the two parallel mountains known as mid-oceanic ridge. Fine with this? As the plates move, this part, oceanic crust moves apart, new mid-oceanic ridges are created at the boundary, divergent boundary, while the old mid-oceanic ridges are taken away. Over the period of time, they get eroded and they become a part of an oceanic crust. Therefore, along the central part of an ocean, jahan pe mid-oceanic ridge is there, we find volcanic eruptions. But what kind of volcanic eruptions? Silent or fissure kind of an volcanic eruptions. The oceanic crust which is created is destroyed when it comes into the contact with the continents. So at the boundaries of ocean and continents, remember one simple thing, जब भी collision होगा, जिसकी density ज़्यादा है, whenever there is a slow collision, ऐसा नहीं है, you will say कि truck और car का high speed में collision तो car नीचे चल दी जाती है, why truck does not go down? Because truck की density ज़्यादा है, तो ऐसा नहीं है. It is जहाँ पे collision occurs at a very very slow speed. When the collision occurs at a very slow speed, जिसकी density ज़्यादा है, it is more attracted towards the center of the earth, क्योंकि gravity ज़्यादा है. And therefore, which is more denser? The oceanic crust. And at the continental crust, at the boundary of continent and oceans, where the oceanic crust and the continental crust meets, the continental crust goes below the ocean, the oceanic crust goes below the continental crust, resulting into formation of trenches. This is why trench is a deeper part. When the continental crust goes below around 80 kilometers deep, it becomes a part of an mantle. Thus, according to the seafloor spreading theory, oceanic crust is being continuously created and destroyed. Creation occurs along the ridges and destruction occurs along the trenches. जहाँ पे आज हम trenches देखते हैं, they are the points of destruction. Fine with this? कि नहीं समझ में आया? Now, whether he is true or false? See, evidences. क्या है सबसे पहला एविडेंस? सबसे पहला एविडेंस इज मिड ओशियनिक रिजेस. 78,000 किलोमीटर का अनब्रोकन माउंटेन सिस्टम इन द वर्ल्ड below the oceans is the biggest evidence of an mid-oceanic ridges or sea floor spreading theory. Now open the map 114 of your atlas. That is the page 114. I guess in the new it is 118. 119. ये जो रेलवे लाइन जैसा जो लाइन दिख रहा है, that is a mid-oceanic ridge, and you can see how it is unbroken. We can take any as a starting point. Mila, everyone, page number 119 of this. And those who are carrying some other, which one is that? You can look in her atlas then. So, those who are carrying Orient Longman, etc., they can look at their neighbor's atlas. So, this is this, if we take as a starting point, कोई भी हम ये as a starting point लेते हैं, because this is where the theory was given. So this starts from here, then it goes into the Indian Ocean, middle of an Indian Ocean, then it goes into the Pacific Ocean, and continuously ये जो है line, this is an unbroken mountain system in the world, which is the longest mountain in the world. But कहाँ पे? Below the ocean, and it is known as the oceanic ridges. 78,000 kilometers के लिए it is running in an unbroken format. And secondly, can you see, ये exactly central part of Indian Ocean में है, ये exactly central part of the Atlantic Ocean में है, but ये Pacific Ocean में central part में नहीं है, ये थोड़ा eastern part में है. क्यों? Understand the continental drift theory. Because Pacific Ocean ही एक ऐसा ocean है which is an example of an contracting ocean. और कहाँ से contract हो रहा है? From the western side, right? That is from the side of America. So if this was the original Pacific Ocean and this was the central point, mid-oceanic ridge, अब America is coming here to this because of an continental drift. So what we have seen, that in the Pacific Ocean, the ridge is now on the eastern side and it is known as an East Pacific rise. अगर ओरिजिनल पांथलासा था तो it was exactly at the center. Now the Pacific Ocean has been compressed. This is one evidence. Second evidence is, sometimes even in the same atlas itself, sometimes the mid-oceanic ridges में volcanic eruption इतना ज़्यादा है that some of the peaks of the mid-oceanic ridge will come up, and you can see that as an island of Iceland or island of Greenland. It is nothing but the projections of the mid-oceanic ridges, because you have to remember one simple thing, जो भी land बना है आज, that has formed because of cooling and solidification of magma. That has been formed due to the cooling and solidification, because Earth was a molten ball of fire. It has then cooled and solidified and formed a landmass. The third evidence of a mid-oceanic ridge is continuous volcanic eruptions and earthquakes in these regions. Earthquake क्यों? Because Earth is moving and you will find there is an earthquake. Volcanic eruptions, हमेशा at the top of mid-oceanic ridge there is an volcanic eruption. इसीलिए जब हम renewable energy करते हैं, और this is what is the general knowledge you do. Iceland is famous for which energy? Geothermal energy. What do you mean by geothermal energy? The energy that comes from the heat of an earth, and therefore we say Iceland is famous for geothermal energy, क्योंकि it is located exactly at the top of mid-oceanic ridge. Getting it? I guess ये idea है geothermal energy, the energy that is taken from the heated part of the interior. Geothermal energy, can I say, will it be possible in the regions which have volcanic history? Yes. Then the fourth evidence of a mid-oceanic ridge is the thickness of the sediments increase as we go away from the mid-oceanic ridge. Seafloor spreading ka the next evidence is the thickness of the sediments go on increasing as we go away from the mid-oceanic ridge. So यहाँ पे as you go away, the thickness of the sediments is increasing. Why? Because the mountains जो initially form हुए थे, they are now being destroyed. And the biggest evidence is, what is the age of the earth? कितना पुराना? 4.5 billion years. That is the age of the earth. And oceanic crust हो या continental crust हो, ये सब उसी time बना था when the earth was formed. So the solid part, crust मतलब क्या है? Solid part जो below the oceans है, it is oceanic crust. जो below the continents है, it is continental crust. Even it should be 4.5 billion years. But the continental crust is 4.5 billion years, which is equal to the age of the earth. but surprisingly ओशनिक क्रस्ट सिर्फ 100 मिलियन ईयर्स पुराना है, 100 मिलियन ईयर्स पुराना, नॉट बिलियन. वाई? बिकॉज जो था इट हैज बीन डिस्ट्रॉयड एंड क्रिएटेड, destroyed and created, and this is the biggest evidence of an sea floor spreading. Billion and million में बहुत ज़्यादा फर्क है. So this is billion years old and this is million years old. 4 billion years, only 100 to 150 million years, and this is possible only if there is a creation and destruction of the oceanic crust. Getting it? So getting this part, everyone? No, it depends upon the strength of the convectional currents. Right now, the Atlantic Ocean is expanding at the rate of 15 centimeters every year. Indian Ocean is expanding at the rate of 5 centimeters every year. So it depends upon how much strong are the convectional currents. So that is, we cannot say this. Pacific Ocean is being contracting at different rates, whether it is near Asia, whether it is near North America or South America. But expansion and contraction is going on. So Atlantic Ocean is expanding. The speed of Atlantic Ocean, the speed of North America is slightly greater than that of South America. And इसलिए, because it is greater than South America, you can see North America has drifted more as compared to the South America. And therefore, हमें S-shaped दिखता है of an Atlantic Ocean. It is a perfectly S in shape, because the speed of movement of North and South America is also different, or hoga different because North America is Laurentian and South America is Gondwana. So the speeds will be different. Plate tectonics. This is just one evidence of an plate tectonic. Plate tectonic mein there are 3 kinds of boundaries. This is one divergent plate boundary. Wait for plate tectonics. So take down the sea floor spreading. जब भी ये क्वेश्चंस आएंगे एग्जाम में, मेक डायग्राम्स, ऑलवेज मेक डायग्राम्स, शो द प्रॉपर ट्रेंचेस एक्सेट्रा. It was given by Harry Hess. It was given by Harry Hess. According to the seafloor spreading theory, the ocean floor behaves like a conveyor belt. The ocean floor or the oceanic crust behaves like a conveyor belt, behaves like a conveyor belt, where it is continuously created along the mid-oceanic ridges, while destroyed along the trenches. Where it is continuously created along the mid-oceanic ridges, while it is destroyed along the trenches. Next point, the rising limb of the convectional currents. Rising limbs, you call this as limbs, or you can even write in simple words the rising convectional current. The rising limbs of the convectional current break the oceanic crust, and cause divergence. and cause divergence. Full stop.
सर ये डाइवर्जेंस को बढ़ावा देती है या ये ऑलरेडी डाइवर्जेंस है तब ये बढ़ावा
ये बढ़ावा देती है। जहाँ पे कन्वर्जनल करंट्स मीट कर रही है कन्वर्जेंस, जहाँ पे अलग जा रही है डाइवर्जेंस। और क्यों हो रहा है वी डू नॉट नो, नहीं। सी ये सारे थियरीज बहुत नई है इस वी कंपेयर्ड, व्हाई वी डू नॉट नो मच, बिकॉज हैरी हेस का सी फ्लोर स्प्रेडिंग थियरी वाज गिवन ड्यूरिंग वर्ल्ड वॉर वन। वर्ल्ड वॉर वन में उनको टेलीग्राफिक केबल्स की ज़रूरत पड़ी, व्हेन दे वर डूइंग दिस टेलीग्राफिक केबल्स, तो फिर उनको पता चला कि cooling and solidification of magma gives rise to mid-oceanic ridges. Gives rise to mid-oceanic ridges. Next point. As the sea floor spreads, new ridges are created along the divergent boundary. New ridges are created along the divergent boundary. New ridges are created along the divergent boundary. While the old ridges are denuded मतलब either weathered या eroded. So अभी सिर्फ ना word लिखना denuded या destroyed, are denuded to become a part of oceanic crust. Become a part of an oceanic crust. Part of oceanic crust. Last point. At the junction of continental crust and the oceanic crust.
Become a part of oceanic crust, they said it will become magma.
At the junction of continental crust and the oceanic crust. At the junction of continental crust and the oceanic crust. Oceanic crust being denser, subducts means goes below, subducts, forming trenches, subducts forming trenches. This oceanic crust is then destroyed. And becomes a part of magma. Becomes a part of magma. So this is the theory. Creation and destruction, and uske साथ साथ volcanic eruptions. But Fisher kind of an volcanic eruption. Evidences. The first evidence. Presence of mid-oceanic ridge. Which is the longest mountain system. On the earth. Running unbroken for 78,000 kilometers. Running unbroken for 78,000 kilometers. For 78,000 kilometers. This has been your prelims question also, which is the longest mountain system on the earth. One option was Andes, दूसरा option था Mid-Atlantic Ridge, third option was Mid-Oceanic Ridge. So what is perfect answer? Mid-Atlantic Ridge या Mid-Oceanic Ridge? Mid-Oceanic Ridge. Second, the rocks of same ages. At an equal distance away from the mid-oceanic ridge. Rocks of same age at an equal distance away from the mid-oceanic ridge. What does it mean? ये जो हमने मार्क किया था 1 1 2 2 and this all rocks belong to the same age. Third point. Greater oceanic temperature. Greater oceanic temperature. At the top of mid-oceanic ridge. Greater oceanic temperature at the top of mid-oceanic ridge. Why? Because of volcanic eruptions. So, because of volcanic eruptions. Fourth point, presence of trenches. Presence of trenches, which are always parallel to the, continental margins, which are always parallel to continental margins, which are always parallel to the continental margins, especially fold mountains, especially fold mountains, especially fold mountains, fold mountains. See, ये थियरी का एविडेंसेस है, सो यू कैन राइट द एविडेंसेस. यू डू नॉट हैव टू एग्जैक्टली राइट हैरी हेस ने क्या कहा था, बट व्हाट इज द वन एविडेंस? व्हेनेवर देयर इज अ फोल्ड माउंटेन, उसके हमेशा पैरेलल विल बी ट्रेंचेस. व्हाट इज द फोर्थ वन एविडेंस? कि जहां पे आज हम खड़े हैं, दिस इज व्हाट, अ ट्रेंच which is parallel to the Himalayas. It is not exactly as deep trench क्योंकि उसका reason is different. Then उसके ऊपर गंगा ने, ब्रह्मपुत्रा ने एंड इंडस ने आके मिट्टी डाली, एंड देयरफॉर वी कॉल दिस एज अ इंडो गंगा ब्रह्मपुत्रा प्लेन्स. बट वी आर स्टैंडिंग राइट नाउ इन अ जोन जहां पे वन प्लेट इज गोइंग बिलो द अदर प्लेट, एंड दैट इज व्हाई वी कॉल दिस एरिया एज एन ग्रेट प्लेन्स. द अदर प्लेट जो है, वन प्लेट इज यूरेशियन प्लेट, द अदर प्लेट इज इंडियन प्लेट, और इंडियन प्लेट का बाउंड्री इज विंध्याज. सो इसलिए हम इस गड्ढे में खड़े हैं तो हमें लगता है विंध्या इज अ माउंटेन. Vindhya is not exactly a mountain. The only thing is we are at a lower height कि हम north से जब देखते हैं तो हमें लगता है Vindhyas are mountains. So वैसे it is not. This is a boundary of Indian plate. You are right now, our class is happening at a junction where Indian plate and the Eurasian plate are meeting, and Indian plate is going below the Eurasian plate. And in this gap, the rivers have deposited the sediments, and this is why ये area इतना flat है. Otherwise, no area can be that flat unless it has been filled up by the sediments. So it is one of the flattest regions of the world. Next evidence. Is according to the conventional theories, the age of the continental crust and the oceanic crust should be same. The age of the continental crust and the oceanic crust should be same. Age of the continental crust and the oceanic crust should be same. But recent findings have reported that the continental crust is around 4.2 billion years old, while the oceanic crust is only few million years old. Oceanic crust is only few million years old. Only few million years old. And the last evidence is It is a field, paleomagnetism. Paleo means old. So it is a field, ancient. Paleo means old or ancient. So it is a field which deals with studying the magnetic properties in the older rocks. Studying the magnetic properties in the older rocks. Give me a minute. So I guess we have seen till here. So this is the seafloor spreading of Harry Hess. Paleomagnetism will deal it separately because उसके ऊपर separate short note. So this is how the seafloor spreading is occurring, and again, Avi, you will understand why I have written youngest, older and oldest. Why? Because the new rocks are being created here while the oldest rocks are being destroyed at the margins of the continents. So this is the seafloor spreading. That is a process that continually adds material to the ocean floor while pushing the older rocks away from the ridge. So what is happening here? Oceanic crust and the continental crust, and this is a mid-oceanic ridge. Why this theory? Because this is what is the ocean floor in reality. क्या है ये? ये जहां से the magma is coming up. What are this? These are the ridges. New ridges, and as you go away, the older ridges. उनकी height ultimately reduce हो रही है, and ultimately it becomes covered by the sediments. So the new ridges and the older ridges. And जहाँ पे the continents and the oceans meet, we find trenches. The deepest parts of the world we find in this region what are known as trenches. Getting this? So can I say divergent plate boundary and the convergent plate boundary? यही हम कल plate tectonics में देखेंगे. But सब जगह जरूरी नहीं है trenches है. Why not there? You will understand that after plate tectonics. Trenches are present only when there is a convergence, not at each and every place. And this is an example of how some of the volcanic mountains rise from the ocean floor, and we call them as islands. Fine with this? And this is the animation of the sea floor spreading. This is what is continuously happening on the sea floor. A new crust is being created and the old crust is being destroyed. And as you are going away, what is happening is the thickness is being reduced. Can I go to the next slide? The best evidence is this is mid-oceanic ridge, except in the Pacific Ocean. Pacific Ocean में East Pacific rise, and you know why? Because इसको join करो, this was Gondwana. That time it was perfectly a mid-oceanic ridge. So mid-oceanic ridge is the longest mountain on the earth. क्यों इरोड हो रहा है? Erosion depends upon being creation and destruction. So यहाँ पे तो creation हो रहा है ना? It is being. This all red line is where the creation is happening. ये continuous है creation. ये सारा है volcanic zones of the world. जब हम plate tectonics करेंगे, we'll call this as a Pacific Ring of Fire. We'll call this as a mid Indian Ocean belt. You should know कि जितने height of the Himalayas बढ़ता है, उतना volcanic eruption occurs here. Utna there is a sea floor spreading. So you can see this is how the mid-oceanic ridge in the Indian Ocean is. See the direction. And this is how the Himalayas is. This is the direction of the Himalayas. Because Indian plate jitna niche jata hai, utna there is an spreading which is occurring here. What is this? Trenches. So the creation and destruction is it is going below. When it goes below, it gets melts and forms the mid-oceanic, forms the trenches. फिर प्लेट टेक्टोनिक थियरी का ये अलग पार्ट है कि वहां पे ही हमें माउंटेन्स मिलेंगे, बट विल डू दैट later on. So as we move away from the mid-oceanic ridge, the age of the rocks increase. And this is how a perfect example of the sea floor spreading. Ridges and trenches. Getting it? And for those who are confused, liquid and solid, this is a flow of basaltic lava, semi-molten state. This is what is the asthenosphere. This is an example of an basaltic lava flow of Iceland. And you know why Iceland? Because it is located exactly on the mid-oceanic ridge. Over the period of time, this lava will solidify, and exactly we will call this as an rock. And rock maybe ये grooves है. या ऐसे क्यों grooves है? Because this is the direction of flow of lava. यही तो over the period of time this has solidified to give rise to the rocks. Fine with this? So we'll meet tomorrow with the plate tectonic theory. This week you have entire geography, next week you have history.